Okay, we are live. I turned up the decibel level a little bit, so the idea is to hear your comments better, I hope. So anyway, we have exercise 1. Write the interval shown on the number line as an inequality using set notation and using interval notation. And we worked on this a couple days ago in class. So how do we write this as inequality notation, do you think? So let's go ahead and put an X right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So X, and what do we do next to this X to get inequality notation?
Greater.
Which side?
On the left.
Left side. So X is greater than or equal to, you want to put it like this?
Yeah.
Okay, and what goes over?
5.
Oh, 5, okay. Okay, 5. And then what goes over here?
Less than infinity.
Less than infinity, okay. Okay, inequality notation. All right. Next we have set notation. So we have, how does that look like? Squiggly bracket, okay. And then X, such that X is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, now one thing, sometimes you'll see just this very thing transplanted down here, but that's not absolutely necessary because we have it all explained right here, right? So it has a little thing. So now interval notation, how do we do that? Bracket, 5, comma, infinity. So anyway, that we have inequality, set, and interval notation. Questions on that? No hay preguntas? No?
How do you know when to put a bracket or parentheses?
Okay, very good. That is the question. Beautiful question. Anybody answer Haley's question? Yes, go ahead, Cheyenne.
When there's a point, you put a bracket, like when it's on a point, and then
When
it's
it's equal to.
yeah,
So if I may summarize here, Cheyenne, correct me if I'm wrong. So point equals bracket, right?
that's my thinking.
And open point, if you want to call it that, right, equals parentheses. Parenth, let me see. If I'm going to abbreviate, I might as well spell as best I can. Parenth. Let me see how this looks like. Yeah, it's a little off. Moved over a little bit. Okay, good. Questions on that? That's a good question. Thanks for asking a question. When you ask a question, a lot of times you ask the question that other people have but don't ask. So you're okay with that now? Write the interval as an inequality and using set notation. So again, we're taking a different representation. So as an inequality notation, how do we do that?
All right, 5.
So write 5 first.
You can put X in the middle.
So Siggy says 5, and then is less than, what goes here? X, which is less than, oh, this thing here, you mean? 100? Is that good? Okay. All right. And then set notation. right? So x such that x is what? Now here we really can't get away with abbreviating, can we? We have to just transplant, don't we? So there we have inequality and set notation. I ordered the writing, I got notice that my writing pad is estimated to be delivered by Friday. So we're going to have it up here, and you're going to have some opportunity, some of you to come up here and do these. I don't know if you look forward to that, but that's going to happen.
I have bad handwriting.
All right, questions on this? Okay. And the thing I like about these exercises so far is they explore the different representations. Okay, next one. We have write the interval. We have an interval here using set notation and interval notation. Do you think it'd be pretty easy to write this one in set notation? Yeah, because what do we have to do? All we have to do is take this thing here, x such that, and we just have to do what with this? We just have to transplant it down here. So we have negative 25 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 30. And so that is our set notation, right? And interval notation, what do we start out with here? Bracket or parentheses? For bracket, negative 25, comma, and parentheses here. So bracket versus parentheses, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that one. Next we have a different representation. So we want to write this as inequality notation. How do we write this as inequality notation?
Just take the x off.
So it's just the same thing here, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to write negative 3 is less than x. X is less than 5. Okay, and then interval notation. What do we have here?
Parentheses, negative 3.
So we just have this thing here, right? So that's that one. This is pretty easy, isn't it? Is it too easy? Is it wasting your time?
No.
Okay. So now we have a graph, and we're going to look at taking the graph here and following the instructions. Write the domain and range as inequality, set notation, and interval notation. So let's just have the list of domain. For domain, I'm going to abbreviate as big D colon, right? For a domain, inequality notation, how do we write inequality notation for this function? What do we call this domain verbally? What is the verbal representation of this domain? How do we say the domain in plain English without inequality, set, or interval notation? 3 words. Those 3 words are? All real numbers. Thank you. Randy.
Roll.
And how do we represent that in inequality notation? It's just this thing here, right? It's this x this, and then we have this business here, and then finally this here, right? No?
I didn't think it was ever equal to.
Well, not equal to, yep. Good, you caught me on that one. I couldn't trick you on that one. Okay, just checking, just checking. And then as set notation, we have x such that, how do we make our set notation here?
Because you
Just, yeah, X equal.
Yeah, so we could do it like this, right?
What's the E again? Oh.
Okay, this little sideways e is abbreviation for is an element of. That's how we verbalize that one. So anyway, that's how we do that. And then finally, interval notation, we would just have it like this, right? And so there would be our domain, okay? And then we have our range. What is our range going to be here?
It's 2
So Cheyenne starts out with a 2, right?
less than equal to
So she says 2 is less than or equal to
y.
y. Yeah, there's the y right here, y, which is less than infinity. Okay, and then in set notation, we have y such that, and we just put y is greater than or equal to 2, right? Okay, now an interval notation, bracket. Is that you, Atlee?
Yes.
Okay, Atlee, good job. Infinity parentheses, okay? Now, now we're going to do the end behavior as x approaches infinity, f of x approaches, as x goes toward infinity, what does f of x go toward? Also, okay, Siggy, exactly right. And as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches, what goes here? I had that t-shirt yesterday, I was doing this business here, and, wasn't I?
Why?
Is it positive?
So as we go to the left here, what is f of x going up toward? Infinity also, okay? So you have an even-natured function that reflects about the y-axis. Starts high and ends high. Your end behavior is going to be the same in either direction, okay? So there you have domain, range, and end behavior. And it says also describe the end behavior or explain why there is no end behavior. Well, actually, obviously there is end behavior in both instances, right? Okay, questions on this one? Let me take a look at this. All it get on here? Yeah, I think it did. Okay. Okay, now we have this graph. Same thing. Our domain is going to be, is domain going to be the same as we saw for problem number 5? Yeah, it is. So let's go ahead and well, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly transcribe those answers from 5 because they're the same, right? And we have x and then finally we have this thing right here, right? So I just transcribed the answers from number 5, right, for domain, since the domain is the same. Now for the range,
0.
so we have a 0 here, right?
Yeah.
So 0, and then what goes here?
So that's it.
0 is less than.
Or equal to, right? Yeah.
Is it going to be less than or equal to?
Less than.
Less than. Okay. And then finally, infinity, right? And then a set notation, y such that y is greater than 0. And then we have what goes here for interval notation. Parentheses. 0, comma, infinity. Okay, Atlee, thank you, Atlee. Now for end behavior, as x approaches infinity, f of x approaches what goes here? X goes this way, y goes that way, right? As x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches
0.
0, yes. And what do we call the approaching of a number as you go to the right or the left? A number that is not infinity, what do we call that?
And the
It's 2 words.
and behavior.
2 words. One of the first word starts with an H, the second word starts with an A. I may or may not have mentioned it yesterday. It's a horizontal asymptote. Did I mention that yesterday? I did? Okay. Horizontal asymptote. So that's just a piece of code. So we have 6 done. Okay, we have, whoops. Okay, same thing here, domain. What is our domain of this linear function? It's the same thing, right? Same thing we've been looking at. So we're just going to transcribe. We have x such that x is an element of all real numbers. And finally we have this thing here, right? Oops. Oh, that looks a little better. And what is our range going to be?
Same thing, right?
Our range be the same, yeah. So we can just copy down for range. The same thing except for what?
Y.
Except for y instead of x, okay? Oops, so I was about to write x there. But I caught myself just in time. So I avoided Rindy criticizing me. I didn't want Rindy to criticize me that time. Right, Rindy, you were all ready for me, weren't you? Okay, then finally we have this business here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then in behavior, as x approaches infinity, f of x approaches
Infinity.
infinity, and as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches
Negative.
negative infinity. Okay? No problems on that one? Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, next. Here we have, this one here is quite a bit different, isn't it? So our domain for this one, this is a semicircle. What is our domain for this one in inequality notation?
-4 is less than or equal to
So -4 is less than or equal to
x.
x. Let's see, 4, okay. And in set notation, it's really just the same thing, right? Just transplant it down. And then in interval notation we have bracket, -4, comma 4, right? Then our range, we have 0, less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 4. And then our set notation is y such that we just plop this thing down, don't we? Take this right here, so we'll put 0, and finally our interval notation, it's going to be just 0 to 4, right? And what about our end behavior? End behavior. Okay, as x approaches infinity, f of x approaches what? Approaches 4. What as x approach? What did you say? What would you say as x approaches infinity? Does x
No, it doesn't.
not approach infinity, right? Does the thing approach negative infinity either? So therefore, is there end behavior in evidence? No. So the answer to this question is end behavior, there is none. Okay. X approaches neither infinity nor negative infinity. Okay? So that would be a way of saying that. Okay. Okay, next, 9. In exercise 9 and 10, for the given function and domain, draw the graph and identify the range. For the given function and domain, so we give us a function and domain, draw the graph and identify the range using the same notation. What kind of notation is this? Interval notation, right? So what do we have to do first on this thing? Draw the graph. What does the graph of this thing look like? Where do we go first?
5.
Go to 5.
Yeah.
So this is like the song, right? It's like our class song. Where do I start my line? Remember that song?
Yeah.
We'll sing it again sometime. And what is our slope here?
That's 1. Negative.
Negative 1. So it'll be like down 1 over 1, right? Down 1 over. So it's going to be like, the thing's going to look something like this, right? Looks something like this. Okay. And our domain is -3 to 2, so where does that go? Kind of goes right up here, right? So thing's going to go right here. So -3, that's going to be like an endpoint, right? No, that's -2. You need to go up higher yet, don't you? You got to go up here. Yeah, so it's going to be -3 up here. Okay. And then 2 is going to be here, right? So it's going to be this interval here, between here and here. So what's going to be, draw the graph. Well, the graph, let me clean this up a little bit. So the graph is going to go, get a skinnier pen, -3, it's going to go up like this, right? It's going to be this interval right in between. And then, are we going to have this piece here? No, we're not, right? So it's just going to be this piece right here. So that's the graph of this. And so what is our range going to be?
3.
So so bracket 3 or parentheses 3? Bracket 3, comma, and then what is the y value to that? It's -3. What can you do? You can just plug in -3 to this, can't you? So what is f of -3? Well, it's going to be -3, right? Plus 5, which is 8. So it should be 8. Let's check that out and make sure that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that checks out, right? So there it is. In the graphics, I didn't leave a lot of room for drawing the segment, but that's what it is. Questions on that one? Okay, let's go look at our last problem in this set here. So take a minute working this out, and we'll draw it up here. We have a set notation. Okay, somebody besides Siggy, where do we start out first on this thing to graph it? Yes, Brady. What one? Where 1, y equals 1, right? I mean, right here? Everybody okay with Braden on that guy right there? What next? The song goes, look at that thing on top. And what's that thing on top? What is that thing on top here that I'm pointing to? Look at that thing on top and use it to move up and stop. 1, 2, 3. Almost done, but there's what? One more hop. Now use the run and move to the right. And how many to the right do we go?
2.
Draw your dot. Are we done? Not quite. Draw the line to connect the dots. So it looks something like this. But draw arrows because what? Lines never stop. So it looks something like that. Of course I have some, so this will be like the complete line and just kind of fashion it out. That's more or less what it looks like. But draw arrows because lines never stop. Okay, and now we have x is greater than -2. So where do we mark this? -2. So right here. And the thing's just greater than, right? So it's going to go all the way up here like this. So do we need this piece here down below?
No.
No, we don't. So we can just go ahead and erase below. So that's what the graph of it looks like, right? And I'm not sure, because we went, let's see, down to, that's going to be right on it. That's going to be right there, right? So what is our range going to be? Our range, let me get red.
Bracket.
Range is going to be bracket
-2.
-2,
How infinity?
comma, infinity. But that's interval notation. Let's put that in set notation, right? How do we write that in set notation? Y such that y is greater than or equal to -2. Is that going to be it there? So set notation, and this is going to be interval notation. Okay, questions on these? That's the whole exercise set, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we will call that good.